I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, 6:01, Stacy. Need to do roll call, right? Public hearing is first, right? So our first order of business will be a public hearing on our code of conduct. I have to get into. Right. Do I have? Vote? Move it? So. Okay. Thank you. Gotta get this language going here. Okay, Joanne, is it? Okay.
So the code of conduct, all of you on the board are very familiar with this process because we've been talking about it for months. Some of you were involved with committee work, right? Actually, almost a year ago, we started a review where we had a number of stakeholders come together, analyze our code of conduct and sort of do an audit on it to make sure that all the language was up to date. It is something that has to be adopted every year, but periodically you're supposed to have a thorough review of the code of conduct to make sure that it's in line with what is expected by changing regulations and changing laws in New York State. Codes of conduct have been required by state law for many, many years, but starting with the Dignity for All Student Act in 2012, we had to have very specific language in the code of conduct, and it also had to have very clearly outlined expectations for all community members and stakeholders that are involved in supporting student education. So the formatting of the code of conduct has been, since the Dignity Act, structured in that way, where it lays out definitions of things like disability, harassment, hazing, identifying different community members and stakeholders, all by definition as outlined in the Dignity Act. And then it also lays out specific responsibilities in supporting student compliance with the code of conduct. And so what we did during our audit was make sure that because New York State law and the Dignity Act has actually been updated, that our language was consistent with that. And so some of the changes that we made to the code of conduct were including the language to be a little bit more open-ended, so that things like, we had a lot of discussion even at the last meeting about which language, whether to call it a parent or a caregiver or parent/guardian. We came down and decided in the end that legal guardian, even though it wasn't very warm and fuzzy, was inclusive of anybody who would be legally responsible for communicating with the school or supporting the school and making sure that the code of conduct was followed. We also extended some language, whereas the original Dignity Act had protected classes listed out, but some of those things change over time. So we changed our code of conduct to say, to list those out as we're required to in places where we're required to, but then to also say consistent with New York State law, and that it was not only exclusively those areas, but including those areas, but in any other areas that were listed in human rights law, the Dignity Act, or other New York State law, in an attempt to try and future-proof our policy, so that if the state changes some definition, that we were then not consistent with that. We also changed some language that was outdated in our code of conduct. We had some things in there about trench coats and dog collars originally in our policy, and a lot of that came out of concerns that were from Columbine, from that original shooting, things that were really not applicable anymore, and so we got rid of those things. We also changed some language because we have been advised to not include things that could be biased, like especially related to dress code, because there were some rules that were okay for males, for example. They could wear sleeveless tops or tank tops, and females couldn't. We eliminated all that language and tried to keep it pretty generic and just really focus on being school appropriate and being covered. We also changed some areas in it to have the message be less about, and not that protected classes aren't important, but more about the fact that harassment and bullying for any reason toward anybody is unacceptable, whereas the old language was very specific to protected classes. So yes, protected classes are included in that, but first and foremost, harassment and bullying will not be tolerated, towards anybody for any reason at all. And then we also changed some language that made it more clear that every single person, particularly employees, are responsible for reporting. Whereas the language was not as strong in it before as it is now, to say that it's absolutely your responsibility as an employee. In fact, it called out every different type of employee to say that if you see it, you need to say something, you need to do something about it. We also, after part of the reason why it took so long is we had a legal review. They changed just some little pieces of language and updated some of the laws that were cited in it. We also at last meeting then changed, I think there was one thing that you found that we didn't have spelled out what the acronym IDEA was. We fixed that because somebody who wasn't familiar with educational jargon wouldn't know what that meant. And we changed a lot of the he's or the she's into they's, just to make sure that that was all inclusive. And we changed just some language and grammar pieces that had to do with the district, again, to try and make it clear that there was no tolerance for this, no matter the reason, for anybody on district property and on district functions. So we believe after this full review, after everybody who was involved with it, that our policy now is up to date, and we hope that it's a little bit more future-proof. We also think that we have made it more clear that, again, that it's not just because you are a part of a specific group that you should have a protection, that discrimination, harassment, bullying on the part of anybody towards anybody within our school community is unacceptable. So those are the changes to our code of conduct. This is actually the first big full review that we've done in quite a number of years. So I thank everybody who was part of that process. You have now the newly edited version. We spent a lot of time at the last meeting going through that, and I thank everybody for the comments that you shared, because that did, I think, clean it up even more. And I hope that this is just very clear and very protective for everybody in our new policy.
Thank you, Joanne. Do you have any comments from the board? I just want to thank you, Joanne. I mean, I know all of us had a ton of stuff that we sort of threw at them, so I appreciate you all the time that you put in that. Do we have any public comments at this time?
I just like to say Molly too. Molly was on the committee.
Oh, yeah, she
many
was.
meetings and a lot of time and work. So thank you for doing that. And Tiana was also part of that.
Again, any comments from the public? So the adjournment for the hearing. So what do I do? Okay,
A little.
thank you, Stacy. Sorry, folks, I'm taking over for Stephanie, who's done this for like 18 years, 20 years. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the motion to adjourn the Code of Conduct hearing at 6:08 PM. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Thank you, Benny and Aubrey, right? Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, abstains? Approved. Okay. Next will be our capital project monthly report. And we are going to hear from our construction company. Thank you. Good.
So we'll run through the pictures. They're probably a little dated after some of the walkthrough there, but on the top left there, you can see we're pouring a concrete slab. It was actually poured in two separate pours to get the slope on the pool deck so that the pool doesn't have any standing water. I don't know if you noticed.
I noticed the slope when we were walking that, yeah.
And then down below are just some pictures of the finishes ongoing of the paint and on the walls and the deck and trusses. We were able to get the sidewalks in, which is good, to beat the weather. We also were able to get the parking lot in, repaved, which is good. Just need to get it topsoil. On the lower left, there is a picture of the masonry going up on the north exterior wall that faces the parking lot. And then to the right of that, it's just a picture of the old locker rooms, which looks a little bit different today because we've got locker delivery yesterday, which is great. Those are starting to go in, so probably in the next day or two, we should be wrapping up. Jumping over to our critical issues, concerns. Schedule of the pool, we're still targeting the end of December. Couple of factors that are concerning about that are, just crew sizes, availability, manpower. We've listed a couple here that we're keeping eyes on. Painters, tile mechanics, the masons. We're pretty much out of the woods with the glazing contractor, so just continuing to monitor workforce and make sure we get the people on site that we need to get us there. Some of the concerns that we have are procurement of brick. We talked about the west wall last meeting. They say it's only 2 weeks away, so that's great. But again, when it's here on site, we'll believe it, a couple of the other concerns that were listed at the end of last month, kind of projecting into this month, with getting the site work in and substantially complete before winter hit, which we were able to do, which is good. Painting the ceilings and the wall to enable other finishes to come in, and from our walkthrough, that's progressing. And then the pool tile, getting that wall tile started, and then getting all the lifts out of there so we get the deck tile down. Temporary heat, we've got plans in place to get that up and running, so that's good. Workforce metrics, I can run through these, but averaging 15, 20 guys on site a day, which is good. Coming material deliveries, we did get the pool lockers, the pool brick we're looking for in a week or two. Pool scoreboard, they have that, and sound system, they're just waiting to bring it to the site, so shouldn't be an issue there. And then the pool bleachers they have as well, just waiting to bring it to the site. So we anticipate seeing the bleachers in December. Some of the upcoming work is, this is a little dated. We did get the sidewalks and paving in, curtain wall glasses in, painting's progressing. FRP doors did go in. There's some more doors that still need to go in the interior. And they're working on those. The brick, that is one thing we're looking for. We did get started on some of the masonry this week. And when the brick shows up, get that brick put in.
Where's that brick coming from?
It's in Syracuse, but they have all the colors. They just have to mix it to the particular colors that we have at the building. But it takes a week, we can add 2 weeks for them to mix the right colors. UPK, the exterior metal panels, they're just finishing up some caulking on that, so we're complete with that work. And then the TRA elevator, we got one exterior door put in, and then the floor put in. That'll pretty much wrap up that elevator space. The roofing work, we had a couple questions on that we got clarified earlier this week, so we should start to see that going in.
So when will that be like functional?
It is functional now.
It is the code and then
Yes.
people can ride in it, okay.
The elevator. He rode in it today.
We did have an issue with it where was not operational last week because some of the oil limit lines in within the system needed some adjusting, so it tripped out on error. They came back last week, corrected that. As far as contract management, we give you an update on change orders that were written since the last update. There is one change order that we're seeking board authorization on. Submittals and closeout, making good progress. Punch list items, there's about 57% complete, but there are some that are in for review that the contractor said they corrected the work. We just need to go back through and verify it with the architect's office. And then payments, roughly about 93% paid out on contracts and about 91% paid, 92% paid out on the total project. Question? I went through it fast, but it's fine.
We got the tour today.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time earlier too, to show us around.
Great. So next is our change order. Here. Says change order to code. Following my sheet.
We kind of just the meeting.
Yeah, I know, but the sheet doesn't seem to be. All right, hang on a second. So we're on number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Capital project update, be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the following change order for the 2021 capital project. PCO GC 120, cost to install brick veneer at the CEA pool laundry room west exterior wall, not to exceed the amount of $23,498. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Tom, second?
Second.
Thank you, Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain. Next, Turner Construction Company contract extension for the capital project. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the contract extension for Turner Construction Company dated November 7th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Audrey. Second?
Second.
Ben? Conversation, information?
So this is because the work is taking longer. And so we've had to extend turning contracts and Zach negotiated that.
And Zach would usually delve in, but he's not here today. Yeah.
So what does it extend to?
It's a month by month
Yeah, I think-
extension,
monthly.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Not for a long period of time,
Okay.
because we hope it's gonna be over sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
right?
And it looked like from the calendar that they had did some extension that was applicable
Got us here.
because of everything that happened in the information that we were given, so. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Any object? Any abstain? So approved. Do we have the need to move to an executive
do.
session?
Sorry.
Okay. So we're reconvening into open session at 6:33. Let's see, correspondences, we have none. Policy discussion, we have none. And policies for first reading. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education, Whitney Point Central School District approve policy 7310-1, Code of Conduct for the first reading. Do I hear a motion? Thank you, Audrey.
Second.
Second, Ben. Do I have any comments or conversation?
So you have the fully updated version right there. As I said, all of the changes that we discussed in the last meeting have been made in that copy. But I do ask you to read through it again.
Thank you. So this is the first reading, so if there are any changes, board members, you can bring them back. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? I'm just gonna say everyone. Okay. Policies for second reading, we have none. And now we are to the part of the meeting where it's comments from the public. We do have 2 times that comments from the public can happen. And I ask that you please adhere to the code of conduct that we ask that our public speakers use. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to convene into the first of the 2 public comment periods. Each speaker will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes and the entire public comment period to a maximum of 30 minutes. This may be waived by a majority vote of the board. The board requests that each speaker stand, states their name, residency, and topic of discussion. By law, the board will not permit any public statements regarding individual students or employees. Please be advised that while the board takes public comments very seriously, we are not allowed to comment or respond during the meeting, as this is our opportunity to hear from our stakeholders. Items brought to the attention of the board will be taken under consideration for future responses or actions, or the proper staff member will get back to you at the appropriate time. And please, I know that's an odd statement, but it is our time to listen. We are not allowed to respond. Do I have anyone that would like to speak at this time? Lacey, will you be timing?
I might be 15 or 20 seconds over.
Can I have your name and your residency? I know who you are, but.
Good evening. As most of you know, my name is Linda Burkhart and I live in Lisle. I'm not really sure exactly where to start, so I will go with the beginning. I am referring to the Constitution of the United States and the First Amendment. The amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We are granted free speech here via the public comment portions of the agenda. We are not the press nor assembling as a group. So that leaves not prohibiting the free exercise of religion and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. According to Merriam-Webster, religion is defined as a personal or institutionalized set of beliefs, attitudes, and practices related to religion. The act of worshiping or serving God in the supernatural. A commitment or devotion to religious observances or faith. A cause, principle, or system of beliefs that are held with ardor and faith. When someone feels that their religious freedom has been abridged, they have the right to petition the government for a redress of that grievance. You, elected school board members, are that government for this school. Your oath was, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as a Board of Education member according to the best of my ability. The New York State Constitution, Article 11, titled Education, guarantees students the right to a free public education and a sound basic education. New York State guarantees students 5 to 21 years of age a free public education. So why are students given conditions in order to attend school which violate their religious freedoms? The claim will be that the state says so. Really? Where? There is a suggested vaccine schedule. It isn't law. The only law there is the one removing religious exemptions. The trouble is, removing religious exemptions violates both the federal and state constitutions. Let's discuss Proposition 1, which recently passed. Many people are screaming about the removal of parental rights, girls' sports getting obliterated, etc. If we look at the actual language, I think you will agree that once this amendment is officially added to the Constitution, it too will provide support for students currently being denied a free public education. Religious protections already were included in the original Equal Rights Amendment for New York. Added through Prop 1 was age. You cannot discriminate by age. And yet, It is school-aged children who are subject to the vaccine schedule in order to receive the free public education. This is a clear violation of this amendment. I find it interesting that this amendment also forbids future laws invalidating discrimination protections. So in other words, you can't undo this amendment, even if you think it was a bad idea. And yet the very government body that proposed this amendment currently denies religious freedoms to students, which is a civil right. You are the duly elected officials, ensuring that our students enjoy the civil liberties guaranteed to them by the constitutions of both the United States and New York State. Civil liberty is the backbone of this country and must be protected.
Thank you, Linda, and that was right on time. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, Rebecca Ferran. I'm a resident of Lyle. Before I begin, I know what I have to say will take me to the full brink of 6 minutes. So I'm requesting permission to say all of it now, if you so agree, and I would understand that I don't have the opportunity to speak later again in the meeting during the other public comment session.
How does the board feel? Okay, so you'll have the 6 minutes now and
And
not,
I won't
and
speak
no
later.
3 minutes
Yeah,
later.
I understand that.
Thank you.
And I thank you for granting that permission, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak. So I'm here to speak to you today about the health and welfare of the students we are all charged with protecting. During the 22 years that I was a teacher here, I observed a significant shift in the educational needs of our student population. The diversity of needs has continued to increase in scope as well as volume. Why has there been such a significant change in the types of challenges that our students are confronted with? The rate of autism in our country was 1 in 1,000 in the 70s. The number has risen steadily and was 1 in 36 by the year 2023. In 1986, the recommended vaccine schedule included 6 vaccines, 25 total doses. By the year 2023, there were 17 vaccines on the schedule, 73 doses in total. In addition to the changes in the vaccine schedule, the CDC has now also altered the definition of a vaccine. A vaccine is no longer required to establish immunity, but merely create an immune response. Because many vaccines are not producing actual measurable immunity, one could conclude this is the reason for the multiple boosters present on the vax schedule. When I was a child, having chickenpox was a rite of passage. Adults would purposely expose their children to chickenpox so they could get it over with. You had chickenpox once, your body established immunity, and you were done. Severe health consequences were rare. This is just one example of an overzealous vaccine schedule. There are currently 5 chickenpox doses on the schedule. You may be questioning why there is a concern. The concern is that the injections that are given to our children include a plethora of genetic material that does not belong to that child, in addition to chemicals, some of which have already been proven to be harmful. A few of the substances our children are repeatedly being injected with include formaldehyde, aluminum, aborted fetal cell lines, calf serum, and monkey cells. How many times can a child be injected with these substances before there are health consequences? We don't know because the research has not been conducted to establish a threshold. Perhaps the repeated introduction of foreign genetic information and chemicals can account for some of the increased challenges that our students are experiencing. I'd like to reinforce that the vaccine schedule is a mandate. A mandate is a directive given by an unelected official. It is not a law. I have foiled the state for various types of student data and have been advised on more than one occasion that no data exists. The New York State Department of Health website includes a section titled School Immunization Map. This map has not been updated since 2019. The New York State Department of Health deadline to respond to the vaccination status of all students in the state of New York for the years 2020 through 2024 draws near. The reply to this FOIL request will provide definitive documentation as to whether or not the state is legitimately tracking the health status of students or if they are merely using a scare schools into compliance tactic. These mandates are reminiscent of providing instruction on bullying behaviors. One of the key components of bullying behavior is that there is an imbalance of power. Parents are being bullied into giving their children multiple injections to obtain the free public education that is guaranteed by our state law. New York State is one of 4 states that refuse to acknowledge our First Amendment right of freedom of religion and has removed the religious exemptions for vaccines. Meanwhile, there are no disease outbreaks in the other 46 states that have chosen to honor First Amendment rights. This is a call to reevaluate the necessity of the multitude of injections that have been added to the vaccine schedule and for you to be an active participant in requiring improved safety and efficacy measures. Furthermore, I call on you to help restore the constitutional freedoms of the individuals that elected you. The following was taken directly from the CDC website regarding meningitis, the meningitis injection. And I quote, as part of the licensure process, meningitis vaccines showed that they produced an immune response. This response suggests that the vaccines provide protection, but data are limited on how well they work. Since meningococcal disease is uncommon, many people need to get these vaccines in order to measure the effectiveness. Experts are unsure to what extent meningitis vaccines protect the larger unvaccinated community through population or herd immunity, end quote. Tragically, you have been allowed to unenroll a student for failure to obtain an injection that the medical community is openly admitting they cannot prove the efficacy of. There is an inability to substantiate immunity once the injection is given because no test exists to accurately measure immunity. Injection literature includes a disclaimer that it cannot guarantee the injection will not cause cancer, genetic mutation, or infertility. I can't imagine anyone volunteering to see if the possible side effects become a reality. I would like to reiterate the medical community repeatedly fails to provide safety and efficacy of many of these injections. Please be an agent of change and help protect our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. And you were at 5 minutes, not 6. Do you have anybody else that would like to speak tonight?
Jeremy, I'm from Courtney White, please forgive me, I'm covered with holes.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I'm coming a little.
Sure, I can do that.
That way we can make sure that.
All right.
it's in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. 3 minutes, good enough. Thank you.
I since this board has clearly been empowered with ultimate influence over New York State and all its policies, I felt it my civil duty to come and remind the board that while we do have a Bill of Rights, our rights are not absolute. The Supreme Court has repeatedly stated that rights can be abridged for the good of society, for the good of whatever. I have the right to free speech. It doesn't mean I can run into a crowded building and yell, fire! And with the resulting catastrophe of people rushing for the exits, trampled, I would be liable at that point. I could be arrested, even though I technically have the right of free speech. This is true of all of our rights. Religion, press. The press has the right to free press, but that doesn't mean they can publish anything they want. We have religion. I have the religion to practice any religion I so choose. It doesn't mean I have the right to mandate that other people comply with my religion, or even that the government by my religion. Really, the right of religion means that the government can't force any one religion over another onto the populace. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have anybody else that would like to speak at this time? Going once, twice. Thank you very much for all those who came and spoke. We appreciate it greatly. And again, we will make sure that anything that needs to be taken care of, responses will be given or actions by the proper staff member at the appropriate time. Next, we go to accommodations.
so we've got lots of congratulations. We'd like to congratulate Coach Taekwondo, Coach Wheaton, and the Whitney Point varsity swim team for placing 5th in the IAC League Championships and for advancing to the Section 4 Girls Swimming Class C Finals.
With no pool.
No pool, the traveling band of swimmers.
Really impressed.
Yep. We would like to congratulate Mrs. Brocious, Ms. Driscoll, Mrs. Burns, and TRA Student Council staff and students for a fun evening of dancing at the first quarter's TRA dance. The grounds and custodial staff for a wonderful job taking care of the Section 4 field hockey, the sectionals and the regional field hockey championships, which were held the last 2 weekends here. Ms. Hayes commended everyone that worked super hard to make sure that our facilities looked great and everything ran smoothly. So thank you to everybody involved. Congratulations to Coach Vashon, Coach Ellerson, and the Whitney Point girls volleyball team for advancing to Section 4 Class B championships. If anybody was there, Sunday, it was a stressful, crazy close heartbreaker. But the girls did a wonderful job. Congratulations to Coach Houston, Coach Montsano, and the Whitney Point field hockey team for winning the section and the regionals. And they are off to Arlington next week to play states. Athletic director and Whitney Point varsity cross country coach Hayes, varsity cross country athletes, and the many people and organizations involved in making sure that Whitney Point Golden Eagles cross country invitational was a success. So thank you to everybody. Mrs. D'Antonio, Ms. Prokop, and the CEA faculty, staff, and students for a successful and lovely Halloween parade. And to Mrs. D'Antonio, Mrs. Prokop, if you didn't see their costumes, were like the hit. So, wish we had those pictures up there to show you. Super cute. Mrs. Cook and the high school student council, as well as local volunteers for putting on a fun trunk or treat event here right out in front of our school. Mrs. D'Antonio, Mrs. Prokop, and the CA faculty, staff, and students for their annual celebration of the veterans in honor of Veterans Day this past Friday. It was, as always, a wonderful, wonderful event. A special thank you to the veteran family members for, at the CPA who had their students go up and honor each of their relatives. It was very moving. The Whitney Point and Triangle Fire Departments for visiting our CEA students to educate them on fire safety. We really appreciate that. It's very meaningful. We had a presentation earlier in the year, and kids really never forget those lessons they learned from the fire department when they're in the Adams building. So we thank them for the great job that they do. Also, thank you to 7 Brew Coffee on Front Street for donating coffee and refreshers to our faculty and staff. I think everybody enjoyed that very much. To Mrs. Pudish and the Food Bank of the Southern Tier for establishing the Eagles Cupboard Pantry at the TRA. That just started at the beginning of the month. And to Katie Pullen, who was named the Class Nobel Educator of Distinction by the National Society of High School Scholars, nominated by her own students. So congratulations to her.
Very nice. Yep. Thank you. Old business, we have none. Presentations. We have none. Consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be acted under one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time of the board vote unless a board member requests an item to be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the following items on the consent agenda: Board Education meeting minutes, special education meeting minutes, resignation by Penny Hinman, resignation by Michael Williams, extra classroom activity report, treasury report, CSE recommendations, field trip request, 2 high school drama cast members to WVNG around the tiers on November 19th, extracurricular activity advisors, and with the stars, those individuals will be splitting the position and stipend. Do I have a motion? Aubrey,
Second.
Molly? Any questions? And we will, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstains? Okay, approved. Let's see, new business. We have a-
Before we go into new business, the only thing that I didn't mention in the commendations is please take notice of the beautiful artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So thankful to the art department gets to share that with us each meeting.
Seems like they had a Halloween theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start their fun stuff.
Tenure appointment. I'm looking at it on my computer. I should probably put it there. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the tenure recommendation of Leslie Borsline, special education teacher, effective November 29th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Tom? Do I have a second?
Second.
Benny? Any comments or?
Leslie's worked with us for 3 years. She came to us from BOCES. We're very happy to have her working here. She had a 3-year appointment because she had tenure in her previous district.
Is she here tonight with us or not? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstains? So moved. Appointments. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the appointment of Shelley Sherman, cleaner, effective November 1st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Molly?
Okay.
Second, Aubrey? Any comments or? No,
We're happy.
happy to have her, yes. And they are doing a great job. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstains? So approved. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the appointment of Leah Humphreys, full-time teacher's aide, effective November 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion? All right. Second,
Second.
Benny? Any comments?
I just noted that there was a new need and, just so you know, Leah is just graduated from here. She's doing a great job.
Excellent. I think I've seen her in the hall. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstains? So moved. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the appointment of Allison Lewis, full-time teacher's aide, effective November 18th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Tom? Second?
Second.
Aubrey?
This is for the resignation that we just approved.
Okay, so just for the resignation that we just approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstains? So approved. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the 4-year probationary appointment for Emily Lacana, music teacher in the music teacher tenure area, effective October 28th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ollie? Do I have a second? Ben? Any comments?
So Emily, is taking the position that was, left open by Mr. D'Imperio. She started October 28th because we needed her to do more class. So, I mean, technically it was a temporary employee from that point on, but for her tenure, that will be her start date.
Start date. And Joanne Knapp's probably really happy
Yeah.
to be
Back
grandma
to being
again.
Grandma.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? Is she here with us today at all? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstains? Approved. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the appointment of Susan Neville to the temporary Strong Connections Grant funded position of Student Success Teaching Assistant, effective November 18th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Aubrey?
Second.
And second, Ben.
Susan comes with just a long history, working as a teaching assistant in another district and doing many other things. She's going to join the Stronger Connections team, who are working to help students get on track, stay on track. And she'll be at the high school.
Excellent. Do we get the money yet for that?
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments or feedback? All in favor?
Aye.
Objections or abstains? Approved. Donation. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District accept 2 donations of $500 each for the use by the Eagles Cupboard Pantry, which is in TRA now.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Ben? Second?
Second.
Yeah.
Anything? This
This is great.
Yes, very, very
So happy that we
generous.
have this.
Yes, very generous donation, and we are, the food bank got a grant to start our foundation year, with the pantry, and so, these funds are gonna help us make sure that we have continuity there and we have the supplies that we need.
Now, with this pantry, is it families just come in or can
By appointment.
by appointment?
Yeah.
And what, can a child make their
Okay.
need known to, need
Yes.
known also? Okay. That's great. Because people should not have food insecurities. They should be able to have what they need. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstains? So approved. Unit cost methodology. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the unit cost methodology proposal for Broome Tioga BOCES services for the 2025-2026 year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Tom? Second?
Second.
Molly? Any comments or anything? I know Zach's not here.
Zach,
but-
I just would like you to know that, Tom, your structures are still there and,
They changed it again.
yeah,
They made it even better.
yeah, but it's all based on the fact that you
It's
really,
all Tom.
Yep.
So, yeah, it looked good. Yes. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstains? Approved. Transportation of student bid Whitney Point 24-2506. Whereas the Whitney Point Central School District did open for public bid according to general municipal law, the following bid, WP 24-25-06. Transportation of student or students, and whereas the bids were publicly opened and read on October 7th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at the BOCES Central Business Office. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools and the purchasing agent that the bid for Whitney Point 24-25-06 transportation of students be awarded to A and D busing services per the attached rates. Do I have a motion? Audrey, do I have a second?
Second.
Ben? Questions or comments?
So how many bids were there?
this is one student.
And how many people?
Oh, only this, it's like I said. You can pretty much name your rate because everybody's desperate and there's not any competition.
Yeah, there's no competition for the bids right now.
Yeah.
So it's whoever bids gets it, basically.
And just, we always have to provide transportation. There's no out for that, so.
Yes. So Molly, yes, you can start the business anytime you want.
Yeah, I'm ready to. Yeah. I just wonder how that works into our budget. and all that.
Problem, I mean, we, because it's special ed costs, we get reimbursed at a higher rate, but it's, you know, still an upfront challenge.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Abstains? So moved. Tax warrant corrections. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of Whitney Point Central School District approve the applications for credit of real property tax pursuant to section 554 of the New York State Real Property Tax Laws. Total warrant charges or changes, $6,836.09. Do I have a motion? Audrey? Second,
Second.
Molly? And it is what it is. Everybody read the document? Any questions or concerns?
No, I mean, Zach said that, I mean, he obviously checks up on all these and these mistakes do get made and then those corrections have to be.
They look like,
Mhm.
yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstains? So moved. Now it's time for superintendent's update.
So a couple of just quick updates regarding the project. You did see the facilities, so we do have the students up in the third floor, which is exciting. And for those of you who could go there, there's behind all of those drawers and cabinets, there's all sorts of like project-based learning material. So kids they're digging in and really working on things in a much more meaningful way than they would before. So it's nice that we get to use the third floor, but it's really nice that they have all of those things to explore and learn through getting, digging right in and even that like sand table is, I don't know, we'll have to get you up there, Tom, and then Betty, there's this.
With Andrea, who knows how to really run it.
Yeah, just to be able to like actually dig in and move sand and see how that impacts and make it rain and see how that impacts the geography and the topography, just brings it all to life. So that's really very cool. You saw the pool. We are making progress. It's still behind schedule, but we still are hoping for the beginning of the new year to be in the pool. So we're very excited about that. I pretty much everything that that's been going on. I mean, we've had lots and lots of sports, and as I said, lots of our athletes have been working really hard, and it's been an exciting fall.
Just for the board's sake, we're going to be hosting the dinner. Whitney Point is, and I'm not sure everybody knows that yet.
Oh, we're not talking about it in public session. So the School Boards Association dinner, it's a joint dinner with the Superintendent's Association and actually OIR, which is Assistant Superintendents, School Boards Association, every year has a dinner. We are hosting this year. It's March 26th.
Mark it on your calendars, March 26th. I'm not cooking.
And we have, so Bootsies will come.
March 26th.
They do all of that. And somehow between now and then, we're gonna make our gym look all fancy dancy and glamorous. And we have an alum of Whitney Point who's gonna be the speaker, Steve Amendum. And we're gonna have art displays and music displays, and we're recruiting some students to kind of work the event. So yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
We could do a show.
Yeah.
We have not eaten.
Okay, Molly.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, we will talk
We'll
about it.
Alright.
I have
We got
to,
time.
I have to be the
Stephanie can
commentator.
make
I have to be
costumes.
this like director anyhow, so anyhow. So I just wanted to make sure everyone had that on the calendar because it's pretty exciting that we get to
Yeah.
host. We haven't hosted it at all that I know of. So it's our first time hosting, so it'll be
So
great.
don't blow it.
Now we can blow it a little bit so they don't want to come back.
Oh,
right?
that's true. That's true.
Okay, so now we've reached the second time in our meeting that we can have comments from the public. Again, I won't read through all of it, but just a reminder, it is a 3 minutes. And we do request that you state your name and residency. And please be advised that we won't allow any public statements regarding individual students or employees. And that we can be listeners, but we can't be conversationalists. So does anybody else have anything they would like to say tonight? I think I summarized that really well. Okay, going once, twice, sold. Okay, Board of Education comments. Does anybody like to say anything? So I'll speak. I went to the NISBA conference, the convention, which was really amazing. So for 3 days, we got to visit with other school districts throughout the entire state. Really see about what's ahead, what's coming ahead. Got to see our commissioner, hear our commissioner speak. I think the big thing that happened at this convention was AI and how AI is moving the country and education, artificial intelligence and what it's doing. How we need to start thinking about how we help our students become more technologically adept and what we need to be doing in that field. They also went through the Blue Ribbon Commission, the possibility, well, I think it's gonna be, the regions probably won't go away, but the regions will be an option for students along with several other problem-based ways that you can evaluate students for their abilities instead of just everybody sitting down with a paper and a pencil and trying to put in bubbles. So there's a lot happening there, and I believe they're having goals to have that done in 3 years.
Timetable is very short.
It's very short. So it's affecting universities, it's affecting everyone. And we are, at least I was concerned about equity because we are in a very rural area and we might not have the availability to some things that other school districts would have. So I think it's something we all need to really pay attention to.
So can I
Yeah.
add?
Yep,
So,
no,
you
definitely.
know, in line with that, I mentioned briefly before that, New York State is requiring that we, all districts do regionalization reporting.
Mhm.
And, then, which is, you know, we've had, lots of input from our faculty and staff, and we've had some meetings to synthesize that information, and then we submit it to our region, and as a region, then we need to come up with goals on how we can regionalize. But it's connected to this Blue Ribbon panel work, so that,
Right.
you know, to address equity, so that, you know, if we can't have a program here, we already do some of this, but, you know, not just relying on everybody going to BOCES, but can districts partner up, and we don't necessarily have to merge, but, you know, we're not gonna duplicate things in both districts. Maybe we have a program in this and they have a program in that, kind of like we go to Marathon for the ag program, some of our students, but doing more of that to one, cost savings, two, to give more opportunities to students. So, you know, that's a pretty fast timetable too.
Yeah, and they're somewhat fighting that a little bit
Yeah.
right now because
There's actually, originally it came out that every region had to,
Right.
and now they're saying, maybe you don't have to, but you have to at least admit all the documentation and show
So
that
look
you
at
had those
everything.
discussions,
Yeah,
right?
right. So a lot happening on that. I do have a lot of PowerPoints that I can share with the group. Different presentations, I have access to them all. The one presentation that I went to was a law presentation, and I think Shannon, you would enjoy this one because it had every single Title IX change law, every single one, and like there was 80 slides, so, but there's a lot of changes. Yeah,
Provide some of that at the
Yep.
next meeting.
yeah, I can give it to all you guys and send it. I'll send it on to Stacy and have her send it to everyone. Okay. I have two other things. First of all, I just want to thank the school for our math science night. Great time at CEA and TRA, and we had a great variety, age groups this time. Usually it's been just up to 3rd grade, but we had 4th grade and 5th grade students coming in, and Lauren is a name memory hero here. She remembered everything. They were coming in and they recognized the floor was changed. They saw that the floor was changed. Like it made it, didn't she say it made her happy or something?
Joyful.
Yeah.
It's joyful in here
The
now.
floor is joyful now, so it was nice, so I
It was
appreciate
nice that
that.
you invited the TRA kids, they were cute coming in, they were like, I haven't been here in so long. Like,
Yeah.
they were in 4th grade.
It was
Yeah.
funny, it's funny because we've always invited them, but I never did the personal flyers in the classroom, so it worked out really, really nice. And the students' comments and reflections and feedback was just amazing, so I just appreciate that. And I just want to say generically that for the last several years, there has been a policy that NISBA has been working on too, and several school districts have put it collectively to get rid of the religious exemption. and it has failed going forward, by us by about 5 votes every year. So we are fighting in Albany for you as a board also. That's all I have.
Anybody else?
Okay, and I've got to finish the meeting, don't I? Do we have the need for another executive session? We do not. Okay. So before I close the meeting, I know we have multitude of students in the back of the room that are going to need signatures. Any single one of us board members can sign that for you, so please come up as soon as we're done closing the meeting and we'll make sure we take care of that. Be resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of board of Ed that approve a motion to recess the public meeting at, let me see, 7:12.
I think that's a record,
It's good.
isn't it? Yeah.
So do I have a motion to adjourn? So move, Aubrey. I think I read the wrong one, but it's close enough. Do I have a second? And all in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Jefferson abstains. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your time and attendance.